بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله الناصح الأمين. اللهم صل على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين. ثم أما بعد. الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه. Alhamdulillah, we continue going over the tremendous advice from the Fadilat al-Shaykh al-Allama Shaykh Salih al-Fawzan Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, that advice, or the Shaykh's advice, al-Mar'ah al-Muslima, to the Muslim woman. We had concluded the last class while speaking about an issue and an affair that will close down the roads of fitna. An issue and an affair that will close down the roads of fitna. And then the Shaykh, Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, he went on to get into another issue from those issues to close down the roads to trials and tribulations, to close down the road of temptation, trials and tribulations and calamities. And that is, as the Shaykh he mentions, Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, وَمِن سَدِّ الطُّرُقِ, and from the ways of closing down of the roads and the paths and the means, مُفْضِيَةً لِلْفِتْنَةِ, those which lead to the fitna, and from the ways of safeguarding and protecting, and from closing down the roads and the means to temptation and calamities and trials. مَنْعِ الْمَرْأَةِ أن تسافر وحدها بدون محرم, is that the Muslim woman, she has been prohibited from traveling by herself without a mahram. She has been prohibited from traveling by herself without a mahram. Before going further, we need to understand what constitutes a travel. You have from the ulama those who mention that such and such a distance, this is considered to be traveling. And they differ in those distances. Now, but the qawl al-rajih, the proper opinion, the correct opinion from the ulama, is that there is no specific distance which identifies traveling, because all of the distances that are mentioned, and there are many, there is no textual proof so as to establish that this is the distance, this is the head of traveling, that this is the distance, this is the limit for traveling, that once you go beyond these particular amount of miles or what have you, then this will equal a travel. There is no textual proof which substantiates a specific distance, but rather what is correct is, as Al-Allama, the Imam of Sham of our time, Muhammad Nasiruddin al-Albani, Imam al-Albani, rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentions that there is no specific distance for traveling. There is no specific distance for traveling. Because this is from those issues where it will go back to the urf, It will go back to the urf of the people. So the traveling is what is considered to be traveling by the Muslims of a particular location. That if they see that if one goes from this point to that point, then that's a travel, then that's a travel. Shaykh Albani, rahimahullah ta'ala, rahmatullah alayh, he mentions, he says that the traveling is not that what you'll say about it, I'm going to go run an errand and come back. Naam, I'm going to go run an errand and come back. He said that anything that is beyond that, anything that is understood beyond that, that which you will consider, or that which is considered to run an errand and come back, he said that this will enter into what is meant to be traveling. And the ulama, they mentioned that traveling, this is one of those rulings that will change from time and place. They will change from time and place. Meaning that in certain eras, that which is considered to be a travel may not be a travel in other eras. So, for example, the Shaykh Imam Al-Albani, he mentions two distances in Syria, that during the time of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah were considered to be a travel. And when the Shaykh, he mentioned these distances, it was, or he asked those in attendance, is this seen as being a travel today? And everyone unanimously, they said no. Today this is not seen as being a travel. To which the Shaykh, he elaborated that this is from the traveling. And what is the definition of traveling? This is from those fiqh rulings, from those Islamic jurisprudence rulings that will change from time and place. Because the definition of travel, it will go back to the urf of the people. Naam. So it's important that we know and that we understand this. The Shaykh Salih Al-Fawzan, hafidhahullah ta'ala, he mentions that from the roads that cuts down, or from the ways and the means of cutting down and preventing the fitna occurring, trials, tribulations, temptations, so on and so forth, is that what? Is that the Muslim woman, she has been prohibited to travel alone without a mahram. And inshallah ta'ala, for now, we're going to leave mahram untranslated, because the Shaykh, shortly, he will explain and give us the definition of what is a mahram. So for now, we'll leave it untranslated. Although this is a term that is well known, we'll leave it untranslated, and we'll explain when we come to that portion, as the Shaykh, he explains what and who is a mahram. The Shaykh, he says, لأن المحرم إذا كان مع الامرأة فإنه يصونها ويحميها ويقوم بمصالحها. Because if the mahram is with her, then he will protect her, he will safeguard her, and he will establish what she needs. And he will bring about that which is beneficial for her. As the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, لا يحل لامرأة تؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر أن تسافر مسيرة يومين إلا مع ذي محرم. Is that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that it is not permissible for a woman who believes in Allah and the last day to travel a distance of 2 days except that she has with her a mahram. And this hadith, رواه Imam Al-Bukhari في الصحيح من حديث أبي سعيد الخضري رضي الله تعالى عنه. And this hadith has been collected by Imam Al-Bukhari inside of his collection of authentic hadith, and it's from the hadith of Abu Sa'id Al-Khudri رضي الله تعالى عنه. نعم. it is important that we understand the reality of this issue. Now, because in this narration, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, Masira yawmayn, the distance of 2 days. The distance of 2 days. Naam. But it is not to be understood as some people understand that I can travel the distance of 2 days. I can travel the distance of 2 days. Naam. And then that it is permissible. Because bila shakk wa bila rayb, with the invention of the modern modes of transportation, a person can go from Florida to China within 2 days. A person can go from Florida to China within 2 days. Naam. So are we to understand, because it doesn't take 2 days to get to China from Florida or from New York, then this means that it's not a travel? Now, and then of course we understand the answer to that is no. It's also important to understand, and this is what Imam Nasiruddin al-Albani used to stress often. Naam. And likewise, the ulama, they stress, is that it is not sufficient to take one hadith or to take one ayah and then try to come to a conclusion about an affair. You can't just take one hadith or one ayah, but rather you have to take all of the ayat, all of the verses, all of the ahadith, naam, upon that particular issue, and then now bring them all together so that you understand correctly this issue. And this is a good example. This here is a good example on what is traveling and how far could a woman travel without a mahram. Naam. Because in this narration, it says 2 days. Naam. 2 days. Then there comes, وفي الرواية, then there comes in another narration that has been collected by Imam Muslim inside of his Sahih, inside of his collection of authentic hadith. And it is from the hadith of Abu Huraira. From the hadith of Abu Huraira radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, where the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, Yawm wa layla, a day and a night. So we have another narration that states that it is not permissible for a woman who believes in Allah in the last day to travel the distance of a day and a night. Naam. Shaykh Fawzani mentions with riwayah, and inside of another narration, it mentions, naam, and tusafira, that she travels, period. That she travels, period. Naam. And this narration is also collected by Imam Muslim. And it is also narrated by Abu Huraira. So, I want you to write this in your notes. You have 2 narrations, both of which are collected by Imam Muslim, both of which are narrated by Abu Huraira. One narration says a day and a night. The other one says, travel period. Travel period. Now that we have all of these narrations together, we can properly understand what is intended. Because this one here that says en tusafira, Shaykh Fawzani says bidun al-tahdid, it is not specified a limit. There is no limit that is specified. Naam, there is no limit that is specified. So it's without any specific time frame. طيب. فالمقصود. So how do we understand all of these narrations? Are we to say, oh, these narrations are contradicting one another? No, of course not. So how do we understand these narrations? نعم. فالمقصود أن المرأة لا تسافر وحدها بدون المحرم. What's understood is that a woman, she cannot travel any travel by herself and without a mahram. She cannot travel any travel by herself where she doesn't have a mahram. So the ulama, they explain this. What this means is that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was stressing the fact that a woman has to travel with a mahram. Naam. So if we put it for you another way, as the ulama they mention, it is so we understand what? That لا يحل للمرأة, is not permissible for the woman, لامرأة, لامرأة تؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر أن تسافر مسيرة, that it is not permissible for a woman who believes in Allah on the last day to travel the distance, مسيرة يومين بل يوم وليلة بل أن تسافر إلا مع ذي محرم. This was understood, is that it is not permissible for a woman who believes in Allah on the last day to travel the distance of 2 days. No, rather of a day and a night. No, rather it's not permissible for her to travel except that she has with her a mahram. Naam, this is what we understand from it. مسيرة اليومين لا بل يوم وليلة لا بل أن تسافر بدون المحرم أو إلا مع ذي محرم. That it is not permissible, when you bring all the narrations together, you understand, it's not permissible for a woman to travel the distance of 2 days. No, rather a day and a night. No, rather that she travels period without a mahram. نعم. فإن سافرت, and it's important, فإن سافرت بدون المحرم, and if she were to travel without a mahram, فهي عاصية لله ولرسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم, then she will be disobeying Allah and disobeying His Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم, مرتكبة لما حرم الله, she will be embarking upon that which Allah has made prohibited. ومعرضة نفسها للفتنة, and she will be exposing herself to fitna. وهذا عام في كل أحوال وفي كل أزمان, and this is general. نعم, this is general in every situation and in every time. So despite the situation and despite the time, if she were to travel by herself without a mahram, then she will be disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Na'am. And of course, what is meant is under ordinary circumstances. What is meant is under ordinary circumstances. If there is a tragedy, if there is a darura, then that's something that is different. If there is a pressing situation, it's darura, yani daruri. It is something that is beyond the scope of what is normal. It is an emergency, for example. Na'am, then this is an exception. So, for example, if the woman if she becomes hurt, may Allah Ta'ala keep all of us safe. May Allah Jalla wa'ala keep all of us safe. But if the woman was to become hurt, for example, and the nearest hospital was a distance that will be considered a travel, then it's not said, no, she can't go to the hospital until a mahram comes to accompany her to the hospital. But she's in a dire situation, and she's bleeding, so on and so forth, but she has injured herself severely, so she needs medical attention immediately. So we don't say, no, she wait, because if she waits, what will happen? She'll bleed out, she may die, so on and so forth. The injury may become so severe that it cripples her for the rest of her life, or it may be a mortal wound which will kill her. So we don't say, no, she has to wait till a mahram comes, brother. No. In this situation, what? Then she's allowed to go that distance. Why? Because it is necessity. It is necessity. It is an emergency. So we're not speaking about that which is an emergency. We're talking under ordinary circumstances. Under ordinary circumstances, if she were to travel without a mahram, then she will be committing a sin, she will be sinful and she will be exposing herself to fitna, trials and tribulations. Naam. But the Shaykh, he says, وَأَمَّا مَا يَقُولُهُ بَعْضُ النَّاسِ, he said, but that which some of the people they say, and it's important that we know this doubt. Because some of the people, you'll hear them, they say, أن المرأة إذا سافرت مع جماعة النساء فإن هذا يكفي عن المحرم. They say, but if a woman were to travel with a group of women, if a woman were to travel with a group of women, then this will free her from needing a mahram. This will suffice her from needing a mahram. The Shaykh, he says, فَهَذَا الْقَوْلِ, he said, this statement, مُعَارِض لِقَوْلِهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ, he said, this statement, it contradicts the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, لا يحل لامرأة تؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر أن تسافر إلا مع ذي محرم. He said this will contradict the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that it is not permissible for a woman who believes in Allah and the last day to travel except that she has with her a mahram. Except that she has with her a mahram. وَجَمَاعَةُ النِّسَاء, and a group of women, لَسْنَا مَحْرَمًا لِلْمَرْأَةِ, a group of women, they do not constitute a mahram for a woman. They do not constitute a mahram for a woman. Mahram al-mar'ah ma'roof. The one who is a mahram for a woman, this is well known. This is well known. The Shaykh, he says, وَهُوَ, and he is. So it's important, I want you to write this definition down. Who is a mahram? The mahram, man tahrumu alayhi min al-rijal. Who, the mahram is the one who it is prohibited for him to marry her from the men. Is that man who is prohibited for him to marry the woman. Bin-nasab, due to a blood relation that prohibits him from marrying that woman. Aw sabab mubah, or due to a permissible reason. Okay? So in general, I want you to write this down. The definition for a mahram, it is that man who it is prohibited for him to marry that woman due to lineage or due to a permissible reason. Naam. So a mahram, who is he? He is that man who that it is impermissible for him to ever marry that woman due to lineage or due to a permissible reason. Naam. But I want you to add that to the definition, although I forgot to mention the first time. It is impermissible for him to ever marry her. He can never marry her, ever. Naam. Can never marry her. Okay, so again, who is the mahram? It is that man who is impermissible for him to ever marry a woman, to ever marry that particular woman. Now, either due to lineage, either due to lineage or due to a permissible reason. Clear? And then the Shaykh, he brings examples. Examples for the first, nasab, and nasab. The examples for and nasab, then it says the relations, the lineage. An example of lineage will be ka'abiha, like her father. Her father can never marry her under any circumstance. Na'am. Wabniha or wabnuha. Na'am. Wabniha. Ka'abiha wabniha. Na'am. And also, like her son. Her son can never marry her. Na'am. And when it says ka'abiha, it goes up. Meaning like her father, her grandfather, her great-grandfather, so on and so forth. Na'am. And when it says wabniha, it goes down. Na'am. When nazalat, it goes down. So her son, her grandson, her great-grandson, so on and so forth. Na'am. Wa akhiha, and her brother. She can never marry her brother. Na'am. Likewise, her nephews, yeah, so on and so forth. وعمها, and her paternal uncle. She could never marry her paternal uncle, meaning her father's brother. وخاليها, nor could she ever marry her maternal uncle, meaning her mother's brother. Now, so this is an example of nasab, those who she can never marry due to blood relation. Due to blood relation. Naam. طيب. So now what is meant by sabab mubah, or by a reason that is permissible? Or by a reason that is permissible. So for sabab mubah, I want you to draw a line and then have two branches coming off of it, because they're going to be two reasons, right? The first of those reasons, the first of those permissible reasons, they will be, as the Shaykh he mentions, musahara. Musahara, naam, will be due to a relationship, due to a permissible relationship that she has with that particular person, or due to a permissible relationship, that person becomes haram for her. That due to a permissible relationship, that person subsequently becomes haram for her to marry ever. So the first is what? Musahara. Now, that this is the permissible relationship, that due to a permissible relationship, that person thus becomes haram for her forever. An example of this will be ka'abi zawjiha, like the father of her husband, or her father-in-law. Her father-in-law, it is impermissible for him to ever marry his daughter-in-law, ever. Ever. Naam. Ever. So as long as they both live, whether her and her husband stay married or not, she can never marry her father-in-law. Ever. She can never marry him. أو ابن زوجها, or the son of her father, or the son of her father. Naam. Asif. Or the son of her husband, or the son of her husband. Naam. وابن زوجها, the son of her husband. She can never marry him. Okay? And then that goes down. So his son and his son, you understand? So her stepson, her great stepson, or her great grand stepson, what have you, all the way down, she can never marry any of them. So this is the first. Those individuals who is haram for them to ever marry the woman due to a permissible relationship, like her father-in-law or her son-in-law, or her father-in-law or her stepson, or a stepson. Likewise, sons-in-laws, same thing. She can never marry the son-in-laws as well. But another reason, this is the second from the reasons of the permissible reasons, will be rada'ah, will be suckling or breastfeeding. Now, will be due to suckling. That if the woman and a man share the same wet nurse, they were both suckled from the same woman. Now, whether that woman was one of their mothers or a third party, it is not permissible for them ever to be married because they are a relation due to suckling. Now, and that which is made haram by lineage will be made haram by suckling. Now, so for example, or the dalil for this is the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, يحرم من الرضاعة ما يحرم من النسب, that what is prohibited from suckling is the same that is prohibited from blood relations. what is prohibited by milk relations is the same as prohibited by blood relations. So, for example, if she were to have a brother from suckling, then he is a mahram for her. Naam. And likewise, his son will be mahram for her. And so on and so forth. Naam. And likewise, his son mahram for her. So, just like those who are mahram, if he was her real brother, how the mahram will extend, it will extend in the same manner for her milk brother, for the one who she they both suckled from the same woman. Naam. And likewise, subsequently, those who are affected by this milk relationship, those who are affected by rada'ah. Naam. طيب. فمحرم المرأة, so therefore the one who was a mahram for the woman, هو الرجل الذي تحرم عليه بنسب أو بسبب مباح, ولا بد أن يكون هذا التحريم على تأبيد, يعني دائما. The Shaykh, he says, so therefore who is a mahram for a woman? It is the man who is prohibited to marry that woman due to blood relationship or due to a permissible reason, and it is incumbent that this prohibition is a prohibition that is forever, meaning it is continuous, it does not end, that it is haram for him to ever marry this woman. He can never ever marry this woman. Now, because there are certain prohibitions that are temporary, they are not forever. So the Shaykh, he mentions, he says, يَخْرُجُ بِذَلِكَ تحريم المؤقت. So therefore there is excluded from this that prohibition that is temporary. مثل, like, يعني أخت زوجة, a woman's sister. Naam, a woman's sister. So for a man, his sister-in-law becomes haram for him, what? While he's married to his wife. While he's married to her sister. Naam. But if her sister were to pass away or they were to get divorced, then it will be permissible for him to marry who used to be his sister-in-law. You understand? So this type of prohibition, then it is what is temporary. Likewise, the woman, as long as she's married to her husband, it's not permissible for her, of course, to marry her brother, because women can only have one husband. You understand? But in the event that her husband dies, then it's permissible for her to marry who used to be her brother-in-law. So this prohibition is what? Is temporary. It's not forever. Naam. وَكَذَلِكَ الْعَمَّةِ, likewise the maternal aunt. A man, he cannot marry his wife's aunt. He cannot marry his wife's maternal aunt. But if the wife were to pass away or they were to get divorced, then he can marry his wife's aunt. And this is very important, especially here in this culture, because in a lot of people's minds, the maternal aunt, of the wife, then she's like mahram for the for her niece's husband. So she may touch him, she may hug him, and stuff like this. It's not permissible. Why? Because this woman, her tahrim is only temporary. So you're not mahram for her. So you cannot see her uncovered, you cannot travel with her, you cannot touch her, be alone with her, so on and so forth. Why? Because she's still haram for you. You understand? Likewise for the woman. It is not that the man's uncles should be hugging on the wife of their nephews and so on and so forth. Why? Because they're not for her maharim. Because what? Because the prohibition of marrying is temporary. It's temporary. Well, likewise, the khala, and likewise, the maternal aunt of his wife. All of this is what? It's temporary. It's temporary. Now, ولكن هذا التحريم مؤقت. The Shaykh, he says this prohibition of marrying them, it is temporary. It's only temporary. فلذلك لا يكون محرما. So therefore, the man will not be a mahram لأخت زوجته. He will not be a mahram for his sister-in-law. He will not be a mahram for his wife's sister. He's not a mahram. So women can't say, oh, my sister, she has, come in from, wherever. My sister at the house, right? I need you to go pick her up and bring her here. Nah, because why? He can't be in the car alone with his sister-in-law. Nah, the in-laws, the Prophet ﷺ, like this, the sister-in-law, brother-in-law, so on and so forth, the Prophet ﷺ described them as what? As death. As death. Is more of a fitna, than other than them. Now, I want to understand this, because people sometimes, they're very lax when it comes to the sister-in-laws and brother-in-laws and so on and so forth. But for the men, listen, the standpoint why this woman is such a fitna, more than another woman from the street, is one, due to, there are many reasons, but from them, as the Ahl al-Ilm they mentioned, due to what? The closeness and relationship that will be there between the likes of these family members, right? So of course you may intrinsically and even not even on purpose know more information about your sister-in-law than you would know of any other woman walking down the street, right? Because he's a close family member, right? So even unintentionally you will learn things about her that you didn't even want to know, but just because he's a close family member. You understand? You may be privy to what she's going through, her situation, so on and so forth. Even stuff you didn't ask about, but because of the closeness in the family, you in a relation, you were over here and you will be privy of some of these things. Now, this is one reason. Another reason is that what? Siblings, and of course, siblings in most cases are very similar in the way that they look. Siblings are similar in the way they look. Not saying that they always look alike, but they're in the same ballpark. You will find mostly siblings in the same ballpark, right? So obviously, this ballpark is favorable to you because your wife is from that ballpark. You understand? Obviously, this ballpark is favorable to you because your wife is from that same ballpark. So that increases what? The danger of her sister. So now, what if her sister looks like her? More dangerous. But yeah, and I don't think I have to explain more about that. So the sister-in-laws, and likewise the same could be said about the brother-in-laws for the wife. This is a fitna. They are death. Naam. So you have to be very, very, very careful and remember these things, that you are not mahram for your wife's sister. You're not mahram for her. طيب. So he's not a mahram for her. وَإِن كَانَتْ تَحْرُمُ عَلَيْهِ. He's not a mahram for her, although right now he cannot marry her. He's still not a mahram. Why? Because the prohibition, that which is stopping him from marrying her, is only temporary. So the Shaykh says, he's not mahram for her لأن هذا التحريم مؤقت. He's not mahram for her because this tahrim, it is temporary. وكذلك لا يكون محرما لخالتها ولا لعمتها. The Shaykh says, and likewise you will not be a mahram for her maternal aunt nor for her paternal aunt for the same reason. Why? Because the prohibition is temporary. هذا هو المحرم. This is who a mahram is. One who can never marry. One who could never marry that woman. Ever. نعم. طيب. وأما جماعة من النساء. Getting back to as far as a group of women. نعم. فلسنا محرما. Then they are not mahram for the woman. كذلك النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم اشترط المحرم للسفر المرأة في كل الأحوال. He says, so thus the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he stipulated that there has to be a mahram to accompany the woman in all travels, in every situation. سواء سافرت على قدميها, whether she traveled on her feet, by means of her feet, right? She walked somewhere. أو على دابة, or she traveled on the back of a riding beast, like a camel or a horse or a donkey, right? أو على سيارة, or whether she traveled by way of car, على السيارة, by way of a car, أو على الطائرة, or if she traveled by way of a plane, that regardless of the means and mode of transportation, if it is a travel, it's not permissible for her to go that distance. It's not permissible for her to go that distance, except that she has with her a mahram. Now listen, some people right now, listen to what they say. It's very important we understand this point. And Shaykh Nasr al-Din and Imam al-Albani, rahimahullah ta'ala, he also mentioned, similar to this, about the issue of women traveling by themselves on airplanes. Now, and this speech, and that speech of Shaykh Nasr, likewise that which was mentioned earlier from him, from Imam al-Albani, you can refer back to Silsila al-Huda wal-Nur, and you'll find this, what was mentioned. طيب. على كل حال, the Shaykh, he says, لأن من الناس اليوم من يقول, he said, because you have from human beings, you have from people right now, those who say, you have from the humans, you have from people, those who say, إنها إذا سافرت بالطائرة, that if she were to go travel by a plane, نعم, ويودعها محرمها في المطار, and there was one who was a mahram for her, and he sent her off. He took her to the airport, and he sent her off, right? ويستقبلها محرمها الآخر في المطار الآخر, and then there was another mahram who received her in the other airport. Now, so one mahram, he took her to departure, and she got on the plane. Now, if you walk her to the gate, all that, yeah, then she got on the plane. Then there was another mahram in the other airport that was waiting for her when she came in at arrivals. That they say, as long as you do it like this, فَلَا بَأْسْ. فَلَا بَأْسْ بِذَلِكَ, it's no problem. Now, is this right? Shaykh Albani says no. The Mufti, Shaykh Abdis, al-Shaykh, he says no. Likewise, Shaykh Salih al-Fawzan, they say no. This is not permissible. The Shaykh, he says, نقول, we say to them, لا, no, هذا لا يجوز. This is not permissible. لأنها سافرت بدون محرم, because she would have traveled without a mahram. You understand? Okay, you took her to the airport, right? She got on the plane. When she's on that plane, that duration in transit, is that not a travel? That is a travel. Is there a mahram with her during that time? No, there's no mahram with her during that time. So thus she has what? She has traveled without a mahram. You understand? The Shaykh, he says, لأنها سافرت بدون المحرم. فالنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول لا يحل لامرأة أن تسافر مسيرة يومين إلا مع ذي محرم. And the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said it's not permissible for a woman to travel the distance of 2 days except with a mahram. وفي الرواية يوم وليلة, and in the narration, a day and a night. وفي الرواية أن تسافر, أن تسافر, she travels period, without what? Without a mahram. But the Shaykh, he says, سواء في الطائرة أو في السيارة أو على الدابة. He said, regardless of whether it is in a plane, a car, or upon a riding beast. والقطار, and a train too. And a train too. والسفينة, and a boat too. You got all means of transportations in there. Right? But فالرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم لم يفصل والعلة موجودة. You understand? The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he stipulated that the woman, she must travel with a mahram under all circumstances. Under all circumstances. Naam. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he did not specify this or that. And the illah is mawjuda. And the, what would you say? And the cause for this rule is there. Is there. Naam. And the reason for such, why she needs a mahram, is still present. Is still present. وَالْفِتْنَةُ تُخْشَى عَلَيْهَا. Why? Because it is scared, it is feared for her that she'll be put to trial, test, and tribulation. This is what is feared for her. That she'll be put to a test, she'll be put through a calamity. Na'am. وَهِيَ فِي طَائِرَةٍ. She'll be put in a calamity and she's inside of the plane. But if she's in a plane and someone is harassing her, na'am, where's the mahram? If there's no mahram there, where's the mahram to deal with that situation? She's in a plane and whatever may come from fitna, who is there to deal with that situation? Na'am. فَالْفِتْنَةِ غَيْرُ مَأْمُونَةٍ. And fitna, it is not, no one is safe from fitna. So I don't want to say, oh, but this is a strong, independent woman. Yeah, she may be strong and independent. But what that mean? She can't be put through trial and test. She can't be put through a calamity. No one goes through a calamity because they want to or they choose it. You understand? The test comes. What, she's above a test? No, of course not. No matter how strong and smart and independent and so on and so on, she still can be subjected to tests, to trials, to tribulations, temptations, so on and so forth. Now, even if she was inside of a plane, even if she was inside of a plane, the Shaykh, he mentioned, this is another thing of what Shaykh Al-Albani, he mentions, and he says that he had other reports of individuals who had mentioned the same thing, that this situation had happened to them, or to those who that they have known. The Shaykh, he says, ثُمَّ, and then, افرض أن الطائرة مثلا اعتراها ما يعتريها من التغيير مسارها إلى بلد آخر فمن يستقبلها في بلد آخر. He said, and then let's say for example, right? Let's say for example, what if the plane, whatever happens to the plane happens to the plane? Something's happened to the plane. It's not working properly. Something is not good, whatever. You understand? So then what do? They have to divert to the nearest airport. Then diverting to that nearest airport may be an airport inside another land, another town, another country, so on and so forth. But so something happens to the plane, they get diverted. They have to emergency landing in another airport. And we know this happens all the time. And that may divert them into another country. You understand? The Shaykh, he says, so who's going to receive her then in that other country? Who's going to receive her in that other country? You see? The Shaykh, he says, فَلَا بُدْ. And then Shaykh Al-Bani mentions the same, and he says that some women have been put to tests and calamities and when these things happen. The plane gets diverted to another country, another place, and now she gets put through some tests and some tribulations and some fitna because of that situation, and she had no mahram with her. Right? So even this understanding is not acceptable. That one mahram will send her off, another mahram will receive her. No. There has to be a mahram with her from departure, in transit, and also upon arrival. The Shaykh, he says, فَلَا بُدْ مِنْ وُجُودِ الْمَحْرَمِ مَعَ الْمَرْأَةِ حَتَّى إِنَّ الرَّجُلِ. He said it has to be a man present with the woman during the travel, a mahram with the woman when she travels. He says, so much so that verily there was a man, جاء إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. He went to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم وقال يا رسول الله. And he said, O Messenger of Allah, after hearing the statement from the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم that it's not permissible for a woman to travel who believes in Allah on the last day except that she has with her a mahram. When he heard that, the man went to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم and he said, إني أكتبت في غزوة كذا وكذا. He said, verily I have been signed up for this particular battle, this particular military expedition. I've been signed up for it. Right? Meaning I've already signed up for it. وَإِنَّ امْرَأَتِي. And verily my wife, خَرَجَتْ حَاجَّةً. She left to make hajj. She left to make hajj. So now look, making hajj is something that's great. From the pillars of al-Islam. You understand? From the pillars of al-Islam. So, what happened? Did the Prophet ﷺ say, okay, that's fine, because she's going to do something that's great, then that's okay? No. The Prophet ﷺ, what did he say? قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ارجع. He said, go back. فحج مع امرأتك. He said, go back and make hajj with your wife. Then go back. You can't come on this battle. Leave. Go back and make hajj with your wife. Na'am. So the Prophet ﷺ, he commanded him what? To return and to make hajj with his wife. And this hadith has been collected by Imam al-Bukhaari inside of his collection of authentic hadith, min hadith Ibn Abbas, from the hadith of Ibn Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma. So thus we see even in a great situation and for a great cause like Hajj, the Prophet ﷺ, we see what? The woman, she still needs a mahram. She still needs a mahram. Now, okay, this is a situation for Hajj. What about a woman want to travel to, I don't know, another country for university? So she go there by herself. And they say, oh, but study is important. Education is important. Yeah, education is important. But does that mean now it's so important that we disobey Allah? It's so important that we disobey the Prophet ﷺ? No, of course not. It's not that important. You know, you get plenty of education in a halal manner, in a halal way. And if it's really that important to you, then you arrange that what mahram go with her. You arrange that a mahram go with her. Na'am, if it's really that important. But this is just to reflect on. So now what about for in the case of vacation? Woman wants to make a vacation or something like that. She want to visit somebody from her family members, or she want to go sightsee. That's more important than Hajj. This Sahabiya, she needed a mahram to make the Hajj. So how this Muslim woman is not going to need a mahram to go sightsee, or to go on vacation, or to go visit whoever? Need a mahram. But important point, the Shaykh, he says, النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم رد هذا الرجل من الغزوة ليصحب امرأته في الحج ويكون محرما لها. He says that the Prophet ﷺ, he made the man leave the military expedition so that he may accompany his wife to make the Hajj, and so that he can be a mahram for his wife. فهذا الدليل على اشتراط المحرم في السفر المرأة في الحج أو لغيره. He said, and this is a proof that the woman has to be accompanied, and this is a proof of the stipulation of a mahram being present for when a woman travels, whether it's Hajj or other than Hajj. So the mahram is stipulated. So therefore, a group of women, they do not fulfill and complete the stipulation. They do not cover it. So it has to be a mahram. A mahram has to be there. سواء كانت مع مجموعة أم لا, whether she's going with a group of people or not. She can be with a group of people, but she still has to have there with her a mahram. ولهذا ذكر الفقهاء رحمهم الله تعالى. And for this, the great scholars of Islamic jurisprudence, may Allah have mercy upon them, they have mentioned أن من الشروط وجوب الحج على المرأة, that from the conditions that make Hajj wajib upon the woman, توفر المحرم, is that she has to have a mahram. فإذا لم يتوفر لها فإنه لا يجب عليها الحج حتى يتوفر لها المحرم. So if she does not have a mahram, then it is not obligatory for her to make Hajj. It is not mandatory for her to make the Hajj until she has a mahram. Until she has a mahram. Na'am. And then the Shaykh rahimahullah ta'ala, he gets into another issue from the issues that will safeguard the women from falling into the fitna. And again, our focus is on the women. Of course, when we look at these issues, he can also see it from the flip side and say, well, I can see how this can benefit the men as well and help them from trials and tribulations. Na'am. And that's true. But our women are precious. Our women are precious. Na'am. So the focus is on protecting and safeguarding our women because they are precious. They are precious. Now, more precious than any diamonds, than any precious gems, than any gold, silver, any precious metals, more precious than any amount of money. Our women, they are precious. They are precious. Na'am. They are precious. So the Shaykh rahimahullah ta'ala mentioning some reasons that will safeguard the women from any type of harm, any type of trial, tribulation, so on and so forth. So the Shaykh rahimahullah ta'ala, he gets into the next issue that will safeguard the women. But we'll save this until the next class, inshallah ta'ala. فنكتفي بهذا القدر وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وجزاكم الله خيرا.